Hi, it's John. Yeah, today I'm just going to do a very slightly longer video on bank accounts in Xero. So just to give people an idea of where everything is, and it is just getting started with the bank accounts. Just to give you, just an idea of how to start using it, to your benefit. Okay, so if we go to the software, this is our dashboard. Within accounting, we've got our bank accounts. So there's all our bank accounts, and we can tick them here, look, to show them on the dashboard. We can also move them up in and down in the list. So the main banks that you're using, you can put to the top of the list. What we can do, so on that one there, we've got get bank feeds. So once you've set your bank account up, you can actually set up your bank feeds. Now what that is a way of dragging your bank accounts into the system. So you can't access your bank via the system, but what you can do is drag your bank statements in, which is a massive time saving for you, because you can then reconcile your bank or allocate payments to the things that are going through your system. So it's really good, and we can show you how to set bank rules up. So the whole system, once you get going with it, is a massive time saver from a bookkeeping perspective, definitely. Okay, so we can show these on the dashboard, like I say. So if we go to our dashboard, there's all our bank accounts on the dashboard. So I'm going to just show you a couple of things in the sales and the purchase ledger initially, and then we'll go to the bank rec screen. So if we go to business sales overview, see all. Now these are all our invoices. Now you've got a tab there which is awaiting payment. Now you can see them here, which are the ones we're awaiting payment for, but that one just drills down and just shows you purely the ones that you're awaiting a payment for. So for instance, if we suddenly received that one there, so we've got 123 outstanding on that invoice, you can enter it in here. So you can go down to the bottom of the invoice, you can click in here, today's date, into, so say they paid us cash, add the payment. So there you go, that now will have moved across into our paid list. So there it is there, and there's the payment that you've allocated against it. Now what people worry about when we get going with the bank rec screen, you have to reconcile that bank transaction. Now just because you've allocated it there and already processed it in the system, you still need to reconcile it when we get to the reconcile screen, but it won't double count it. So that's a worry for quite a few people. As they start using the system, they worry that they've allocated the payment, which is probably what you're going to be wanting to do, because you want to know who's paid you and when they've paid you. But in the bank rec screen, you will still need to reconcile that. But it's not an issue, it won't double count it, it'll know that you've already allocated it against the customer. Now if you haven't, when you reconcile it in the reconciled screen, when you allocate it, it'll automatically allocate it to that payment. So a lot of people tend to do the banking on Xero from the bank rec screen, because you can drag the bank statements in whenever you want to. So you could do it every day, allocate your payments, and it's automatically updating your sales and your purchase ledger with payments and clearing down customers who owe you money and creditors who you owe money to. So you can do it all from the bank screen really, as long as the payments and the receipts are going through that specific bank account. Obviously it won't deal with things where you've been paid cash, or so you'll have to do those this way. So hopefully that makes a bit of sense. If we go back into our dashboard, what I've done, I've got now items that we're dragging in from our bank account. So these, I've done this via a CSV, so this is a made up bank account, but it's just to give people an idea of how to deal with certain transactions. So if we click in, so if we just assume in here that we've got the bank account set up, linked to Xero, and we're dragging in the bank items, and now we've got 21 items that we need to reconcile. So we've hit the refresh bank feed button, and we're saying now there's 21 items come through from our bank account. So that's what you get. That screen opens up, and then that's your bank reconciliation screen. So this side of the screen is at the left hand side. So this side, as you look at it, is all the transactions that you're dragging in from your bank, and then this side is how it's been allocated on your XERO, or what you've not how it's been allocated, but what you've actually processed on your XERO. So this side is bank, so you know it's 100% right, and then this side here is what you've posted onto your XERO as you're going along. Now what you can see is some of them are green and some of them aren't green. So the green ones are what XERO is trying to allocate from the bank. So as this comes through, XERO has found an 8523 transaction. It's found 156 transaction that you've processed on your system, and it's trying to allocate that payment and that payment and that payment through into a specific transaction that you've posted on your XERO. Now it doesn't always get it right, but you know, you can override it. So if you click OK there, then that will automatically allocate that payment against that item. You can click in here to have a look at the detail to see exactly what it is, and like I say, you can override it. So we'll go through a few scenarios just to give you an idea of how you override it, or if you accept it as right. So it's really good. The system is marking them green if it thinks it might know what it is. It's not a given that it's the right thing, but it's trying for you. It's trying to allocate the payment, and this is where the time savings can be huge. These white ones, we don't know what the system doesn't know what it is. So we've got a few transactions here. So we've got 21 transactions, just to try and give you an overview of how to do everything. Okay, and there's your different pages. So if we do I think the best way to do this on a normal bank rec, you would be doing it in date order, but because you know this side is right, as long as we get the opening figure right on the system, this side has got to be right really, because it's coming in from the bank. So so what we can do is do them in out of sync. They don't have to be in date order, because ultimately once you've reconciled all this side all this side, which is all your payments coming in, then it's got to be right. Unless your opening figures wrong within the system, but we'll obviously make sure that won't be the case. Okay, so let's do the receipt. So this column here is spent items, excuse me, and then this side here is received items. So here we can click on here and have a look at the detail. So here we're saying we've got 360 coming in. The system doesn't know what it is. Let's go back to page 1. Let's work our way through it. So we're going down, spent items, we're looking for any received items. So there we've got a sales receipt coming in for 1340. Now it's found it. So in the PAYE, the detail sales receipt 001 1340. Now it's actually found it there. So we know 100% that payment is that, so we can go OK. So that reconciles the item. So this one now, it thinks it knows what it is. We've got sales receipt 003, invoice number 003, £1,000. So it knows what the item is, so we can go OK. This one, a sales receipt coming in on the 18th of April. We can go and have a look at what the details is. It's got sales receipt 10, 11, 12. So the system can't recognise that 360. So what we would do there, we would go in and have a look, see if we can find it. So if we go find a match, and then in here we can go and have a look for items. So test 1. So you can go and search for different customers. Okay, or you can just go into the system. There's all our transactions. So our detail is 10, 11, 12. So what we'd be doing is going and having a look down here. There's 10, so 120. So 10, 11, so we've got 12, and there's 11. So if we click on those three, it's gone green because the numbers are right. So if we look down here, the sum of your selected transactions must match the money received. Make adjustments as needed. So our subtotal, what we've done there, we've gone and found 3 items that we think it is, and this is why it didn't mark it green, because they're 3 items, 120 each, and the system isn't clever enough obviously to think, oh, 360, that's 3 lots of 120. But as long as we've got some detail here within what's coming in, you know, and very often people do this based on a date. So if you've had a customer pay you on the same day, sometimes you can pick it up from that. So there we've got 3 items. It's marked it green because it marries up with the total that's going through. So we can then go OK. So that's now reconciled those 3 items. We've now got another receipt coming in. So remember, this is our received, this is our spent items. So we've now got an item coming through our bank, which is, click on there, more detail. So it's a payment of £12,000. So within here, it's saying invoice number 15. It thinks it's that. So if we can come out of this at any point and go and have a look in our sales overview. See all, so our invoices, awaiting payments. Now those are all our awaiting payments. So there, look, is that £12,000 item. So, you know, you'd go and have a look and go, who's it off, and yeah, work out, yeah, that's the right thing, that's the right receipt coming in. So we click back into our reconciled screen, we'd flick down to the 12,000. Yes, we're happy with that. So we go, okay, so that's reconciled that item. So let's just see if we've got any more received items coming through. So there's another one. So 210. So this is a good example, because what this is doing, it's actually saying, oh, there's a figure here coming in for 210, and the reference is 22 and 20. Now here, it's allocating it to invoice number 17. So that initially doesn't probably look right. But if you went okay, because this is a classic example of the system trying to find it, but it's actually probably allocated it, looking at that, to the wrong item. So you have got to be careful in this scenario, but it's a good example, this is. So if we go to find and match, now here's all our transactions. So very often you'd have the name of the customer here, so you could go and search for the name of the customer. So here we've got the invoice number, so we could scroll down and have a look for the invoice number. So we've got 22, so there's number 22, so it looks like it's from test 2. And we've got 20, there's 20, and then we've got to take out that one. Now there you go, that's gone green, so we're assuming that that's right. So they've come in from test 2, customer test 2. So if we come out of there, so we cancel that. Like I say, I'm just trying to do this to give you an idea of how it all works. So dashboard, reconciled item, down here, there's our item, the next page. So find and match, it's trying to allocate it to test 4. So if we had in here, say the reference, or in the description it said the customer, so test 2, what you'd be doing is you'd be coming into here and you'd be typing in test 2. So that would bring up all your test 2 items, and then down here you could go and have a look and go, right, 20 and 20 and 22. So there's number 20, there's number 22, and then obviously we don't want it to go to that test 4 one. So hopefully that gives you an idea of how the system allocates something which isn't necessarily right, but it's straightforward. You can come in, let's just do that again. So we'll be going in, there's the transaction, find a match. It's trying to allocate it against that. We can come down here, look for test 2. This is really straightforward once you get using it. So 22, it's against that invoice and that invoice. There you go, it's allocated it, and we save it and reconcile it. Okay, so that's all the receipts going through. Now the fact that we've actually allocated them in the bank rec screen, it has no bearing if we'd already done it. As I say in the sales overview, we'd allocated the payments against the actual invoice itself. So if we'd have gone in here and cleared it down here, we would still, the figure would still come through the bank and we could still reconcile it. The system isn't going to double count it. So that's just something to bear in mind. Okay, so that's the sales side of it. And so the payments are exactly the same. So you'd be clicking on here and you'd be looking to see exactly what it is. So that's picked up that it's 85.23 because it recognises the number. It thinks it's a payment to Shell Garage. And we're going, yep, that's what it is. As long as we're happy that's what it is, we would go okay. Another one there, click in there. Usually, like I say, you've got the detail of the supplier, but we've got check 2345. You'd go and have a look at your checkbook and go, yeah, that is to computer help. Now if it wasn't, you'd go in and you'd go and find what it was for and allocate it from the list, and then untick that and then go and find which one it's for. So it might be payments to Orange, and then you'd put some extra payments in there. So, but in this instance it's not, it's actually a payment to computer help, so we're okay, we can reconcile that. We've got another one here, so transaction amount £123, it's posted it to EE, are we happy with that? Yes. If we're not, like I say, we can do that and go and find what it is actually for, but in this instance we're happy, so we can go okay. So can you see how quick this is? It's great when the system starts finding transactions for you. Here we've got a payment going out, a backs payment to 235645. We're saying it's a payment to Travis. Yes, so we can go okay. So we're reconciling. So you can see we've only got 12 transactions left to reconcile now. We've got a payment to Orange, £50. And we're going, it's a payment to Orange. It's the system has picked up your Orange invoice, so we can go okay. So there you go. Right, so what we're getting to now is we've got a rate one now. With rates, you very often don't get an invoice for your rate, so it's very often people would pick up the rates charge from the bank. So this is a good way. So the system can't find anything in the system because there won't be an invoice on there. So in this scenario, you would go in and have a look what it is, right? You go, right, it's rates. So what I would do in this instance, we would set up a bankroll. So here, you can create a bankroll. So if you do this, so if we go down the list, there's another rates one there for the next month. And then if we carry on down, there's another one there for the following month. So we've got 3 payments. So if we didn't set up a bankroll, we would have to enter that every time it drops into the bank. So to do that, you would be going, well, let me go and find it, because the system hasn't made it green and it can't find it. We would then be going into here and typing in rates or the council where you are, and you go, no, it's not in the system. So you might put in council, just looking for, you know, your council. It's not there, so it's not in the system. You have to be sure it's not in the system. So what you would then do is you would click down here and you would say it's a new transaction because it's not in the system yet, because you haven't had an invoice. you'd say spend money. Now here you've got three options. So we'll look at the two today. So you've got direct payment and an overpayment. So I would usually say you don't do a direct payment unless you know 100% you're not going to get an invoice for it. So this can be a little bit tricky to explain, but basically in this scenario you've got a direct payment because you're not going to get an invoice, and who's it to? So you'd be putting we could create a contact and call it council. We'll just call it council rates. On that date, it's rates for the council, £110, and then we'd be putting it in here as rates. So what you're doing there, you're doing a direct payment. You're saying, what is this transaction? It's £110 for rates. So I can't find it in the system, so I'm going to go down, add a new transaction, do a direct payment to council rates supplier with a description of rates council, and then the important one is it's a posting to rates nominal, so that will go against your profit and loss, and then we'd probably change that to no VAT because there's no VAT on your rates, and then save the transaction. So that is what you would do if you're definitely not getting an invoice. Now the last thing you would do is do that if you're going to get an invoice. So say it was a bill from a payment to us and you know you're going to get an invoice off us, you wouldn't do a direct payment to Brotherton or accountscom with a posting to accountancy, because when you get our invoice you'd then have a payment going to accountancy on the nominal, and you'd also have an invoice going through as well, so you'd be double counting it. So in this instance it's fine because you're not going to get an invoice. If you're going to get an invoice, you would always post it to an overpayment, and then you would post it to an overpayment, and then that sits as an overpayment to that supplier, and then at the point you get the invoice you can allocate that payment against the invoice. So you're only posting the charge once to the nominal, and then the payment is allocating against the supplier. So hopefully that makes sense. It's a tricky one to explain. So if we just go back, if we come back out of there and then we go back into our reconcile screen, what we're saying here is we've got rates, £110, we're not going to get an invoice, we'll go and have a look for it on the system. So you could put in there council, just to make sure it's not on the system. Go and search for it. Not on the system, which we knew it wouldn't be. We can go in, spend money. Because you're not going to get a receipt, you want to post it directly to rates. You'll be clicking into here, creating a contact, description there, and then the important one is your nominal. It's going straight to your nominal, and then save. You can do that via a bankroll. So if you did it that way, you'd end up doing it every time it popped in. So what I always suggest is this is where there's a massive time saving for bookkeepers. So you can click in here, you go, it's rates. So here is an option to create a bankroll. So you can click on there and you've got spend money rules, receive money rules, or transfer money rules. So this is where you can set up a rule so it automatically allocates it for you. So what I tend to do is you'd go and have a look at what, so here we've got description, rates, council. So if we say the description is always going to be that, probably from that supplier, when we click into the bank, when it's kicking in, we can go create bankroll, and then we can delete that. So we're saying when money spent on the bank statement matches all of the following conditions. So if you've got more than one, you can put any or all. So we're saying a description equals, so what I usually say is change that to contains rates council, or you could just say rates. So you're not giving it an exact description, you're saying it contains the word rates. we want to post it to an existing or a new contact. So if we call it council, if we do that, council rates, so that's the contact that we're setting up. We could say a description. So here we can allocate a fixed amount of that payment to a certain thing. So what we usually do, we usually miss this out and we go straight to this one. So we say, where does the remainder want to go? Business rates. So if you don't allocate anything to that, it's pretty much 100% of it. So we're saying the description, if it contains rates, we want to post it to council rates. Business rates is the description, and we want it to go to rates on the nominal, and we don't want to allocate any VAT to it. So if we do that, set the reference will be set from the description, and the target bank account, so you could set it to run on all bank accounts. We'll give the rule a description of rates. Save. So there, now we've set the rule up. So it's basically saying here, because we've got rates within the description, it's automatically applying the rule. Now we can not apply the rule, but if we apply that rule, it will automatically post that rates into business rates and create the supplier. Now if you don't apply the rule, you can then go and do whatever you want with it. But once that rule's set, it's set. So we can go in and have a look. If we go back into our business, into our accounting bank accounts, and then go into our manage bank accounts, bank rules, that's where that rates one is. So we're basically saying it's a spend money rule. If the description contains the word rates, we want to set up a contact or use an existing one and call it council rates. We then want to allocate all of the payment and give it a description of business rates, post it to business rates with no VAT and 100%. And we want to get the reference will be set from the description, the target of the bank account. The targeted bank account is all bank accounts, and we've given it a rule of rates. So really quick to set up, and then basically when we go back into our reconcile screen, it will automatically be allocating it to there. So we can go, yeah, it is rates, I'm applying the rule, we can go OK. Now the beauty with it is they're all done now, so it's automatically allocating the rates to that rule. So we can go OK, and then that one as well, look. So once you've done it once, that's it, job done. So we can go back into our, let's have a look in here. So account transactions here, look, there, they've all been reconciled and they've all been allocated. So we click on there, we're saying it's a spend money transaction, it's going to business rates, unit price is that, there's no VAT on it, and we've created the council rates contact. So in here, you can search for it, there's the contact, and there's the 3 transactions. But that's how quick it is. You can just set the rules up and then you're up and running. So we've only got 8 transactions left to reconcile now. So if we click back in there, we've now got a drawdown to Brown. So if we're assuming this is the director, he's got £2,000 that he's drawn down. So what I usually do there, this is where I would set up these other bank accounts. So if you haven't got your bank account set up, so if we go into accounting, bank accounts, we've got a director's loan account there, which is effectively your money. So it's not a proper bank account, it's just money that either you're putting in or you're taking out. So it's a debit or a credit on the loan account. So when we reconcile our bank, we've now got a payment going out to the director, so we can just click on the transfer button. What bank do we want to transfer it to? Director's loan account, okay, job done. So there's another one there, so we can do transfer, director's loan account, okay. Okay, and then there's another one there, look. So we're going to transfer, director's loan account, okay. So when we go back into our business, bank accounts, this is getting closer and closer to being reconciled, and there you go, there's our items that are going into the bank account. Now this doesn't need to be reconciled, this one, arguably, because it's not a proper bank account, but so people do sometimes ask us why are these shown as unreconciled, and it's because you can go in and mark them as reconciled if you want to, and obviously when the accounts are done it will all be sort of married up with the other side of the equation. So, but it's nothing to worry about that. So now we've got 5 items that need reconciling. So we've now got a nest payment, so a payment out to nest. So there's another one there and another one there. So these are the monthly payments going to nest. So again, another great option to set up a bankroll. So rather than having to enter them every time, we're saying what is it? It's a payment to nest for 143.23. And the description contains the word nest. So if we go in here, create a bankroll, we're saying the description, so we can come out of there, the description equals, and you can add conditions there by the way, you can add as many as you want to. So description, not equals, contains the word nest, set a contact up and call it nest. Like I say, we usually ignore this, allocate a fixed amount, and then we say, what is it? It's nest. To pension. Put it to the nominal pension costs. No VAT. Reference from, I mean this doesn't really matter too much, but from the description, that can be left really. Run this rule on, I mean it'll only be the one bank account, but you can set it for all bank accounts or just leave it on the one bank account that you make your nest payments to, and then give it a rule, nest payments, save. So there now, it's allocating the payment to the nest. So again, we can override the rule. We don't have to apply the rule, and we can go and do something else with it. But now, it's allocating that nest rule to all 3 payments. So we can go, yep, yes, and yes. So that's how quick it is to do that. So here now, we've got 2 payments to Orange. So these are the last 2 that we need to reconcile. Let's have a look. So we would go into, you can't find them. So we'd go find and match. We'd go and have a look for Orange. Now there's nothing on the system there at all. So it probably means we've got 2 payments of £50 going out, which we haven't got the invoices for yet. So this is where the normal way you would allocate a payment that you know you're going to get a receipt for. So we're looking for Orange, nothing's in there. So we would then go, new transaction, what is it? Is it a transfer money or spend money? So to spend money. And then this is where you do not want to do a direct payment, because if you did a direct payment to Orange and then we posted it to telephone and save transaction, where when we get the invoice we're going to be picking up that £50 again. So 100% that is not what you want to do. If you're going to get an invoice for an item, you do not want to do a direct payment there. The only times really you're going to do direct payments there are things like insurances, rates probably, things like that. Things that you get supplier invoices for, you definitely do not want to do a direct payment there. So what you would do, you would go, now very often it will pick it up because the invoice will already be on the system. So this is when you can't find the invoice on the system. So you're going to go into here and you're going to change it to an overpayment. So we're going to say now we're doing an overpayment to Orange for £50. We know that. So it's an overpayment to Orange. Now the next one, another overpayment to Orange. So obviously we haven't got their invoices, so we're going to have to go looking for their invoices, but we want to reconcile our bank. So we're now going to go in and do a find a match. And we know they're not on there, but if I just do it again, Orange, they're not on the system. So we go down to from that box to this box. It's a new transaction, it's a spend money transaction. It's a direct payment, no, because we're going to get an invoice. It's an overpayment, yes. To Orange supplier. It's got the dates in there. Save. Okay, there you go. So we've reconciled our account now. So that's all the transactions dealt with. Now if we go back to our Orange, all contacts, go and search for Orange. We've now got, in brackets, we've got an overpayment. So we can see here, look, in this column they're still shown as due. So we've got a bill paid that's been allocated, and we've got 2 invoices that are missing. So it's an overpayment and they haven't been allocated yet. So if we go in here now and create a bill for Orange, we'll just do it with that date on it. This is just to show you how you can allocate those payments. £50 telephone, inclusive of VAT. So now it's asking us there to allocate. So it's saying Orange has £100 in outstanding credit. Would you like to allocate a credit to this bill? So we go allocate. So it's coming up with these 2 overpayments. So now we can allocate those payments. We're just doing it the other way around. So what we're effectively saying is, instead of the invoice going on and then the payment going on after, what we're doing here is the payment's gone on and now we're putting the invoice on, and it's saying, do you want to allocate those that payment? So we can go here, £50 allocated to that one. So there, allocate credit. So it's allocated the overpayment to that invoice. So again, we can do the other one. So we get the invoice coming in. It's another invoice to Orange. We'll just put today's date. Telephone. £50 to telephone, including the VAT. So there you go, it's trying to allocate the credit again. So we do £50, allocate credit. That's the overpayment allocated. So you're just doing it the other way around. And that's why, you know, you definitely will not want to do a direct payment. If you know you're going to get an invoice for something, you do not post it as a direct payment in the bank rec screen. You do it as an overpayment and then allocate that overpayment when the invoice comes in. So that's absolutely crucial. If we go back to our contacts now, all contacts, go and find Orange. Click on there. There's nothing owing now, and then there's nothing in this due column because these overpayments have been allocated against these bills. So we can go and always have a look at those. You can see the bill. So these little blue hyperlinks take you through to where you're looking at. Okay. So that's where we are. So just to recap on the rules, because a lot of people will set the rules up as they're going along. So you can click into here, bank accounts, and manage account, so you go into the bank that you're talking about, you can go into your bank rules and you can set up receive money rules, transfer rules you can set up as well. So create a rule, so if it was a transfer rule, so you can go in and create rules before they actually hit the bank. Most people set them up as you're going along, so as they hit the bank you'd set up the rules as you're going along. But you can see the time savings there are huge, so you get your bank feed set up, which we can help you with, and then get your bank rules set up, and you know it's sort of getting a lot of the job done for you. Okay, so hopefully that's been useful. It literally is just an overview. I wanted to do it in a webinar format, so you could perhaps watch it, certain elements of it again. What I will be doing moving forward is allocating some extra videos a bit shorter, so we can target specific things within the system, so within the bank as well. This is, like I say, this one's a bit longer, or quite a bit longer, just so we can you know, give you an overview of exactly how everything works. Like I say, moving forward I will be doing some shorter ones which are very specific to doing a particular thing within the bank, which may be better for people as we move forward. But this one is, as I say, just a walk through the bank and just an idea of how everything works. So hopefully that's been okay, and feel free to give the office a call. We're on 01527 433 111 or 0121 289 4433. Okay, hopefully that's been okay, and see you soon. Thanks, bye.